he can just pop his ulti on Rise and you can just spam snare and you can literally lock this guy in place, and he cannot use his mobility, which is what Kassadin does so well. It's also going to be a free farm lane for Faker. You can bring teleport. This is the time now where SKT suddenly will have the map pressure. KOO is bringing Ignite once again on the Kassadin. So they cannot start falling behind because they will not be able to stop what's going to happen in the side lanes. We know Nara is going to be really, really strong as well as a split pusher.
And this is another one of these matchups, though, where KOO Tigers brings global ultimates in support and jungle, whereas SKT will then bring the extra teleport in the mid lane. It's the same juxtaposition we saw in Game 1, just swapped for which teams had the globals.
We're going to see what happens. Loading up for Game 4 with the Summoners Cup on the line. Tweet hashtag KOO win or hashtag SKT win to @LOL Esports. We'll be tallying your votes up throughout the game to see where you stand on this one. I'm sure coming into the game or even right after the game, maybe one of the first things Koma said was the perfect record doesn't matter. The win still does. Shake that off, get into game. KOO, however, riding a wave of momentum coming into this one. It's exactly what they wanted from the crowd and from themselves. And they stand in a very good position to take another game.
If they say that most players don't care about this 18-0s or 13-0, whatever it is you're aiming for, they just want to win the whole thing.
Yep.
It's more the casters who care about who you're undefeated.
All that will matter is which team hoists the Summoners Cup.
That's exactly
that is
right.
So beautifully on display on the stage right there. And SKT, just like they were in Game 3, are one game away
it still hangs
from
in the
that
balance.
moment. And for Faker and Bengi, it would be their second time doing such, and they would be the first people to ever have that privilege to do it twice.
And now we get to see, I think I didn't expect, Smeb on a supportive champion. Because the whole reason this meta fit KOO Tigers so well was that Smeb could take Riven and Fiora into the top lane. He could outduel the enemy top laner and do really, really well. We haven't seen him show up too much this time around. Last game he needed 30 minutes of farming. Then we saw a big play. It was massive and allowed KOO Tigers to win the game, obviously. But now he's on supported champions that can't really snowball. That's one of the problems about Lulu. TP ganks are not very effective for her. Ganking her lane doesn't do a whole lot. You'd rather want to leave the Lulu alone and just let her sit and farm up.
It's true, and actually before the last game, it had been a really long time since KOO Tigers had defeated SKT. I mean, you mentioned the summer split that they were 0-4.
Yeah.
They were 3-0'd in the spring final. They were 2-0'd later on in their second best of 3 in the spring split. But in doing that, how much will that get in the mind of SKT? They need to be able to bounce back.
Speaking of records, the last time SKT even dropped one game in a series was in August against Naj and EM Fire, so it's not something they're really used to right now. You can see KOO's momentum wave flowing right into the crowd as they wave around the Mercedes-Benz Arena.
SKT has done this before, where they leash for either Bengi or Marin to get him quickly to level 2, and then he can go to his lane and he kind of has a small advantage. You see him get the Grump now. It got delayed a little bit because KOO Tigers invaded, but that was very smart. And he's gonna, he's gonna kill it, I mean.
Half a second away, actually, from not killing that thing. They know he's gonna be recalling, so Smeb will be able to make it up there level 2.
Yeah.
Either of the bottom lanes actually gain experience off that.
And Smeb can run because he started on top side of the map. It's very important in these matchups here. If you start on the top side as the jungles and top lane duo, taking that camp, get level 2, even got blue buff on the side of Smeb. You can run up there and save your teleport. Because Marin had to do this play around the Grump, wanted to try and rush it down and then team it up. He's now down a summon as well, and that's going to be key when it comes to poking away. You can always go back and return.
And even though Smeb has been performing so well on carry top laners, it's not like he hasn't been effective on utility or tank type top laners in the past. 5-3 this year on Lulu. He was a good Maokai player. He was a great Gnar player. He can still play those styles. It's just more throwback for KOO Tigers and kind of a mix of the old and the new with this team composition.
A lot of Korean players, when you're on Incredible Miracle, you don't really perform too well. But when you leave, a lot of the players tend to do really, really well. Smeb is one of the guys. Didn't have much of a name before he joined the KOO Tigers. And then slowly but surely got better.
Was actually considered one of the worst top laners previously. So a very big step up for him. We heard the Korean casters saying it was almost impossible that SKT themselves slumped, but each player on KOO Tigers has faced that individually and then come back to be fantastic players here at Power Worlds, aiming for the Summoners Cup.
And this game will also be so much about how SKT can recover from the early game. You can see Bengi missing his cocoon on the Scuttle Crab. Not the best start, losing some early pressure there because that revealed him to Gorilla and Prey as well. SKT really needs to kind of reset, make sure they're safe in the early game, and then make KOO beat them.
Have to keep an eye this game if they do kind of forego the sight stones again, use the hawk shot, get their vision through different means, or if they go back to kind of a regular play. The aggression they had last game took SKT off guard, but I'm sure SKT's ready for that another time.
Yeah, for sure. They've been talking about the first 5 minutes. We haven't seen SKT rush into the enemy jungle all of a sudden and take a stupid fight. We just saw a jungler miss on the wrist cutter.
Much more patience.
That was about it. That's about the amount of action we've seen so far. So it's a lot slower pace now. For SKT, there is a lane that's going to be annoying for them. I always liked Ashen to Sivir because of the fact that you can just constantly trade her with her. It's very hard for Sivir to trade back these quick trades. You're just going to boomerang you, you step to the side. But when that happens, Tahm Kench will eat the Ashe. Then suddenly the trade damage is really going. There we go. Thank you very much, by the way, KOO for showing it. So you can have these very quick trades. Then you get that level 6 and you can start making plays across the map.
Well, the wave kind of sitting in their favor here if there any is. Jungle pressure down bottom. Hojin is there, but there is going to be no presence of Bengi as the wave kind of crashes in and starts to build.
Yeah, and there was a slight early edge in that lane for KOO because SKT did try and pull for Marin, but we're not seeing the fruits of that labor in any of the lanes. The top lane is still losing to Smeb, although it is small, and then Prey and Gorilla, even with the wave being in their turret, were up about 8 or 9 CS, so nice stuff all around. Hojin, though, he sees,
it's a pretty risky invade. Bengi just pulled off. He moved it on his own. Castling couldn't move down. The lane was pushed in. Gorilla and Prey down here is having control of the 2v2 as well. They could easily have collapsed on Bengi, but they didn't see him before it was too late. He got very early side stuff. As a few deep wards down, that's going to be important at least, so he gets away with it.
Yep.
That could have been very, very risky.
Smeb using that blue buff as much as possible to make sure Marin stays down, activating his Gnar off the minion wave as well, so he can't get pressure, but Marin just dodged, didn't take too much damage. Another condition that SKT will have to fight under is that Gnar bar. We'll see how they get around that once the time comes. A very early sight stone for Bengi to get more vision in. Looks like Hojin was towards the mid lane, but Faker rolled back, so they're not going to get anything out of it.
low on mana.
Not in a great spot. He's been pushing with that blue buff. Without it now, he gets himself out. The repel does not hit.
That's exactly what Smeb needed to do right there. So often you see Lulu's greed and not successfully flash the cocoon away there, but he knew he couldn't speed himself up very well. You knew he was low on mana, and it's just, aside from getting caught in the first place because you're pushed up at 6.5 minutes without wards, the gank escape was perfectly done.
A little bit annoying for Bengi as well. He knew the minion wave was coming. He's like, either I fire the cocoon now, or the minion wave will arrive and I can't do it, and he can hide behind them and so on. But pulling the trigger.
Well, that flash is down. Bengi wants to at least get coverage up here, or since Marin is pushed up pretty low health, they want to see if Hojin's going to make a move. Hojin, however, likes to counter gank himself, so make him up here very, very slow. Not get himself in any trouble. Actually goes down bottom, knows Smeb is safe. He's going to get some vision of his own inside the jungle.
This is a little...
At least knowledge.
This is a little bit more of the bracket stage Hojin that was looking ineffective. He's wasted a lot of time so far in this game. Not only in the bottom lane beforehand, when the ward is spotted him by Bengi, even though the ward already in place, he canceled his recall, cleared an extra ward, went back to base, and then a very late counter gank attempt in the top lane when Smeb really could have even been died since he just teleported back to his turret at absolute full health. So some inefficiencies coming up.
Yeah, and as soon as you show yourself as a jungler in the early game, you give so much information to the other team. Because okay, he's top side, suddenly it's open for you to go into the enemy jungle on the bottom side. If you want to reuse some of the rewards, you can keep control that way. So whenever a jungler wastes time by showing how they can shoot now, it ended up costing 4 in the long run. Because of their vision, you lose.
And one of the bigger costs of that is the fact that Faker still gets to farm up freely on Rise. We knew it was going to be an easy lane, but when he's able to dodge the jungle pressure so easily, he's gone tier into a mana crystal. He's going to be going Catalyst next. He is completely maxing out on damage early on here.
And you can see it's almost told as well. If you look at the items in the side of Smeb and Kuro, they both have Catalyst, which means they'll be doing stacking as well. The cocoon comes out. Hojin flashes in and gets the knockup, saving Smeb's life. Can they retaliate here? It looks like Bengi and Marin have gone too far away, but what a save for Smeb.
A lot of things happened right there. Faker tried to TP in behind as well, but Koro managed to interrupt the teleport. from Faker, and then obviously we had this no-flash Lulu running from the river. SKT thinking, oh, this is gonna be a kill, and Hojin shows up to save the day.
Everyone had to do the right thing to avoid dying there, which is a little bit dangerous.
Flashes were blown in the mid lane as well. Looks like Faker and KOO went hard, so there's no flash for this. Hojin in a real bad situation with the last bit of mana. Faker takes him down 2v1.
This was one of the problems we mentioned a little bit in Champ Select, how Kassadin in the early game with the Catalyst, he can't really burst down the Ryze. And then whenever you jump in for any fights, Ryze can just turn it around.
I figured there wouldn't be any fights right now. You're going up against Faker, charging things up. Of course he knows how to play that, and it's a tell to have two Catalysts to say, we want to hang.
And it remains to be the greatest mystery of worlds, how Faker is the only one playing Ryze in the mid lane. But I
so true, it really is.
We're learning more and more about why that's the case. It really feels like he's the only one that truly understands Ryze. Because that was easy for Faker. He burned Ignite in a 1v2 and got an easy kill.
And Flash was already down from a 1v1 that they just had as the teleports went towards top, so.
Yeah, really bad
playing it
by
very
Hogan
well.
And KOO there.
So KOO Tigers in the last few games, on average at 10 minutes, they were 1,084 gold ahead of SKT. This game, we have not seen the same SKT run in head first and just risk losing members, giving up kills they shouldn't have in the early game. They're playing a lot slower. Bing has been getting some deep wards, and this time around it's SKT who has the lead at 10 minutes. We also know they have the better late game shot calling.
Yes.
As a team, we have seen that now. Suddenly it's looking a lot different.
Very controlled from SKT, not trying to get themselves into crazy engages behind tier 2 turrets at the start of the game. Already setting the pace that they want and that they can control.
Yeah, and here's what SKT is trying to do. They want Faker to scale up a little bit more into a Rod of Ages. They want Marin to stack magic resist so he's nearly unkillable by the Lulu and Kassadin. Those are two very low sustained damage mages, and Ashe doesn't do big damage until later in the game.
We're gonna fight a mid though. Oh, it's behind them.
Wolf comes up the river behind everyone. The arrow into Bang is actually spell shielded nicely. So ult for ult there, but the turret is saved in mid lane.
And I really like this play here from KOO Tigers. When you play against a Kassadin or a Ryze, things that can't easily clear the way for them to then find it close, or Faker would have to use his ulti and then the next wave you would be able to clear it out. You gotta be able to move in your AD carry and your support to that mid lane, pressure that tower, because so often you get so much free damage before the other team reacts and sending their AD carry to defend. KOO Tigers had pushed out the bottom lane. We mentioned how with the Ashe and Tahm Kench, they can have these globals to move to the other lanes, send them straight mid lane, get a lot of damage before Bang reacted, and SKT has to fight then to stop the push.
And this is where SKT plays the best. So many flashes were blown from Prey and Gorilla on the last fight. They know they're safe to do this, and they start taking the advantages little by little. Hojin gets pushed out by the ultimate of Faker in the mid lane. He actually should be okay here with the blue buff. Room Prison back on the KOO, and everything is safe. Again, Dragon number 1 goes to SKT.
Really easy Dragon 2. Smeb didn't have the teleport up in the top lane. Faker is beginning to manhandle this mid lane.
Missile Voyage towards mid.
This isn't to kill Faker, this is to kill the turret. They already know the turret is low and Faker can't clear the wave well.
Exactly the same play we just saw before from KOO Tigers. They know Faker on the Ryze cannot lit. He already used the ulti. Safe play from KOO Tigers. Very low risk and obviously gives a great reward because you get a mid tower down in 12 minutes. So I really like those two plays, and it's one of the things that Tahm Kench offers. Let's see what happens here. Marin is going to Smeb.
And this is one of the first games where we haven't seen the side lanes drop yet. The middle goes down first. We'll see how that opens up the map right now. That wet noodle fight in the top lane. Looks like Hojin wants to participate. Nars back Smeb so he can't slow him anymore. But the pop-up from Hojin may keep him in range. Smeb does have flash. Will he utilize it? I think Marin's made too much ground already, and he gets out safe.
They were thinking about going hard up there. KOO already roamed halfway up the lane, which leaves this window. Wolf can dive on Alistar. He has his ult.
That's the hit. Gorilla's going to be pushed back, but that's a lot of gray health he has to work with to get out of this situation. Pops it at the last second, and beautiful. Wolf waits until the last moment when he can headbutt, knowing Gorilla's flash is down, and make it look easy.
Good decision from Wolf going for the Tahm Kench. Don't go for the AD carry. He can just eat him then. Keep him alive.
Sometimes it's ill-advised, but they know what they're doing.
Go for the support here. Take him down. Take the tower as well. Marin is still up in the top lane trying to defend. There's the teleport from Faker.
He's going to need help. Yeah, there comes Faker. Really nice timing on that teleport.
TP and ult as he makes his way out there. Getting a few stacks on the... Oh, wait a minute. He's going to be in range a little bit more. Spams out those room prisons. That's the tower hitting. Marin trying to give him the time of day, but it's a hit from Faker. The teleport and flash. Hashtag worth.
And right here is why Faker makes Ryze work. He knows exactly when he can flash forward and just unleash his entire combo, keep you basically locked in place.
The fact that he knew he could gap close the entire lane against the Lulu is incredible.
Yeah, you have very small windows of power on Rise, and Faker is able to show up in these situations where the enemy isn't tracking the Rise cooldowns as well as Faker is. And really, his flash to kill ratio on Rise is nearing 100%.
All the time.
It's truly impressive.
Nicely played by Marin to escape any danger there from KOO. Been roaming a little bit now. Loses pressure on his mid lane. We'll see if he can get back quickly. Faker's already there stacking it up, so SKT could be pressuring mid now.
Praying Gorilla should have been mid already. Now they end up having to use the ulti here. Let's see what happens.
Oh, hello, the AD carry Abyssal Voyage. Gorilla and Prey come popping out as Hojin on the other side, and that's going to call Marin down, so a little bit of a fight in the mid lane that nobody wants to take until everyone arrives.
When you play with a Kassadin, as soon as the laning phase seems to be over and we have these roams happening, skirmish all over the place, you need to get that Kassadin away from the mid lane. Because again, he will not be able to defend if SKT groups on him. So you have to move Ashe and Tahm Kench earlier to mid lane, so you don't have to use the ulti here for Gorilla either. You have that now global pressure because Tahm Kench can go to either lane with his ulti, and he can take Prey with him or Hojin with him if needed. But you need that AD carry to sit with the supporter to be the defensive mid. Obviously, it's not insane wave clear from an Ashe, but at least long range. Bang now gets a lot of time upon him because KOO Tigers just had to move Kassadin top, then move AD carry mid, very delayed. They were constantly a step behind, and that's what SKT is used.
Exactly. Kassadin Ashe, when you compare that to just to Sivir and Rise. Rise and Kassadin, Rise would actually have a little bit better wave clear than the Kassadin, but Sivir's much better than the Ashe. Yeah. They're playing the pressure game. This is the game that SKT had a huge compositional advantage in Game 3, but then we're getting picked off too many times. But the conservative nature of what SKT is doing with the windows of aggression is more the SKT that we saw in Games 1 and 2.
And you're going to see SKT move Rise down to the bottom lane and then keep the Sivir in mid lane. So you now have 3 lanes basically pushing for you. Sivir can instant wave clear in here mid, always get it down to towers, so Prey stuck there defending. They have full vision of where Prey is on the map. Rise is not going to be challenged by anyone in a 1v1. We've seen what happens when Kassadin jumps forward. Lulu is not going to do it. So there's going to be 3 lanes where SKT can push them down. That means they can be proactive outside of KOO Tigers trying to find an arrow and surprise them. But then SKT should be in a position where they push up the wave, we can see it happening, and react to double teleport themselves.
If any mistakes are made at the same time, they'll get way more than just 1 turret in that situation. SKT takes a mile when you give them an inch. 3-0 already. This time they have the 2,000 gold lead, and we did see the early sightstones coming in from KOO this time. It wasn't just the run into the jungle, find a target, and make it happen. They don't have that pick anymore to work with.
Sivir with the spell shield is hard to catch out for the Ashe. So if you want to make that play,
Bang's been so good at spell shielding it.
Exactly, and you have Wolf as well with his ulti. So not really any target you're aiming for mid lane. At least you repel up in the air.
Yeah, a lot of denial there.
Mainly they're trying to hit Faker, who's going to be having some resiliency of his own with the Rod of Ages being completed, and the Seraph Embrace going to come online pretty soon as well. So the arrow targets have to be pretty tricky. Maybe they'd have to hit Bengi before he can repel up.
Could be one of them.
But it's harder for KOO to find the kills in this game, and their aggression has definitely been toned pretty far back in the last.
And we looked again at this double teleport. Marin, once again, has gone for the Distortion very early on. Less cooldown on the teleport. He was one of the first guys to really start bringing home guard when TP top became a big thing, and he was so good at Malphite and so on, always creating flanks with it. Now he's changed that. Distortion is that less cooldown has more value for him in this game. So double TP, less cooldown on one of them, stronger side lanes as well.
Well, I also think it's just a smart adaptation to the way the game is being played. So much of the teleports are matching each other's teleports, so when you match, if Marin has Distortion Boots, his is up sooner, and they can then win that play.
But Smep should have noticed that, and he can copy it and do exactly the same. We've seen 3 games in a row now from Marin, and if it's going to be a problem, which it will be, because again the cooldowns are so important, I feel like you can adapt on the fly.
Are they going to dive top? I was going to say Hojin spending a little too much time there for just a ward, but looks like they do decide to go with it. But they're giving SKT way too much time. Also, a teleport is still up for Faker. They're fighting the other teleport in Marin, but they don't have a minion wave. SKT has already mobilized themselves towards top.
And I think another thing we haven't talked about, as we saw with Smeb and Marin, just like slapping each other very weakly. Super tank Marin. KOO can't create any opportunities on his own against Rise, and Ashe isn't exactly your dueling AD carry. KOO Tigers really needs to wait a long time before this team composition comes online, and they're actually at the mercy of a lot of the power spikes from SKT thus far.
Faker realizes he is sitting right on a ward, hatching it, and the team wants this right now. Doesn't look like KOO's going to get much, and they lose pressure in the top lane. Smeb went to TP, but he did not go, so he gets disturbed.
Because SKT keep pushing down all 3 lanes to the towers of KOO Tigers, they can see as soon as people are missing. Like, oh, you just left mid lane. Let's make sure our top laner is aware. Let's make sure Faker can teleport up in case it's needed. And we saw all other members from SKT already run through their own jungle towards that top lane in case a dive would happen. I would like to see Prey instead recall, run from the base and then fire an arrow down the lane here. That's very hard to dodge unless you have flash up. And it's also a lot harder to predict. Okay, where's he going? Is he going top? Is he going front lane? If he moves from mid lane after playing a wave, SKT sees it.
Such an advantage as well now with Faker having that teleport up. KOO has to respect the bottom lane push, so he's forced to rift down as the rest of the team tries to hold off middle. Marin's going to go ahead and pick up red, and that will just create more of a possibility for SKT to kind of reel in these kills. Just farming it up. Marin against the blue buff Lulu, still up in CS there in lane by a few. He's doing what he can to stay in this game.
Strong Gnar play, good build in this situation he's in too, because he knows it's going to be a very long time before Prey can sufficiently hurt him. Nice steal by Benji right now.
That hurts.
Yeah, SKT is systematically kind of just taking away KOO's win conditions. They're keeping the waves pushed up, the teleports from Smeb are failed, the Tom Kench, if he ever goes missing, SKT's able to fall backwards. And they too scale very well. Faker on Rise will be a late game monster, so they're really making KOO commit into these pretty risky plays in which they haven't been willing to. And honestly, Prey is still sitting on Infinity Edge components, so it's going to take a long time
Marin
for KOO Tigers to make those plays.
Not really worried about those fights, worried about being a tank. Sterix Gage, first item.
I think it's great when you have a Sivir, when you have an Alistar, something that can set up the fight for you and help you stay in there, give you extra mobility, because you become such a monster once you're in the middle of the fight, and obviously the shield pops, you get the extra AD for yourself. That's going to make him really hard to deal with in the fights. And obviously, again, he's not afraid of the Lulu killing him. He has enough magic resist. I have such a weird feeling with Lulu top lane, because again, it can't really snowball, it can't really assert a whole lot of pressure either. It just wants to go into team fights, but you want to have a split push threat in this meta. So it's always been a bit of a weird pick, and that's why we've seen it a lot less here this World Championship. I definitely didn't expect it to spec.
Backs against the wall, Fiora not in his champion pool there because it was banned away, so I understand why they went for it in this situation, because they had so much success in Game 3 by going with something completely different, a full pick composition. And they are stalling this game out as well. SKT as well as KOO Tigers are kind of playing the slow game.
Yeah, simply just not been able to create the pick in this game, because Prey is always spotted where he goes. He's not been able to roam around in this Ashe here. Double teleport makes it so difficult, because all 3 lanes have just always been pushing down, slowly chipping away on the power.
Faker hitting that Saris Embrace as well. He's going to be even harder to kill now. 10 stacks towards KOO's Rod of Ages. Smeb is almost there, so those items coming online now as they put a few more in their pocket. Faker almost at 10 stacks on his. This is going to get very, very volatile quite soon. Level 11s are on the board. That means they have their second ultimate. Dragon is going to be up in a minute 40. It'd be a perfect time to get more summoners or ults out of members of SKT here. 22 minutes in, it's a 3,000 gold lead for SKT with 2 dragons already in their favor.
Yeah, and this could turn into a 3, 4, maybe even 5 dragon stall game for SKT. It would be really interesting to see when KOO Tigers tries to contest the dragon, because they really haven't been in strong position to do so. They do have 2 Rod of Ages though, stacking up pretty heavily. Yeah. When they get a death cap onto Smeb, if they get a death cap onto Smeb, and when KOO completes his Zonias, is there opportunity to create a fight?
It is, and that's what they have to pull off. The problem is, SK Telecom, they have no reason to rush in and take a 5-on-5 team fight. Again, when you have the map pressure, you just keep pushing the lanes, and you wait for that moment where KOO Tigers sends someone down to defend the bot lane tower, and then you make a play on the opposite side of the map. But that's where you rush the Dragon while Cassidy is sitting and clearing waves at his own tower, down here on the bottom side. And then you always have that small advantage coming into the fight. If SKT suddenly just rushes the Dragon for absolutely no reason, that's where KOO Tigers will have an opening. Land an arrow, get the engage, try and win that fight.
Seeing how SKT could play this one. Marin in the top lane, looking to build that bar. Would be a great time in 30 seconds to have that Gnar out. Faker and Kuro already on the bottom side of the map, adding that pressure. With Dragon coming up, you can already see Gorilla kind of waiting in the middle of both top and mid, or I should say bottom and
Rev
mid.
has home guards, and he's sitting in base for a long time, and he's waiting to TP somewhere. He's going in bot lane now.
Just going into the river brush, but it's going to be Kuro getting dropped immediately. How did he even think he could take that fight? Sarah's Embrace wasn't even used by Faker, and they're ready to keep going for the fight. Gorilla chomps up Smeb as his teleport comes in. Bray gets caught way off on the wing here. KOO was not ready to take any sort of fight. They thought it'd be a single 1v1 with their TP being the advantage of the bottom lane, but they have been turned on their head for this engage. Marin, no red buff, just the slows from the boomerang, but it looks like KOO is able to stave off any more deaths. 2-0 there for SKT.
KOO has no idea how to deal with Faker. That is the thing that is losing them this game. 4-0-1, 100% kill participation, and also two of those kills were 1v2s, and he didn't even have to burn flash while killing them. This is a big misplay by KOO to be walking in range of Faker when he's capable of doing that. Faker has complete mastery and knowledge of what he can do, and you can tell KOO has none of that knowledge.
I just love this matchup here. He was last picked, the Rise into the Kassadin. Kassadin shines when he uses mobility, get multiple ultis off, but Rise is able to lock him in place and burst him out. Keep in mind, you're also a champion who wants to go hourglass second item. There's nothing against the Rise. He just got completely destroyed.
Tom Kench was trying to come in for a larger flank. That's why the casting engagement. Oh yeah, he was interrupted on the other side of the fight.
They had Homeguard TP coming, they had Tom Kench coming, everything was set up. But you need to get that arrow in first to stun that Rise, because we see what Faker can do. The amount of damage he's pulling off already.
Can't let him freewheel like that.
And again, a game they're building. The face of the mountain Foley, it looks like, on Gorilla. Merc treads around, so they have what they need in magic resistance instead of building that Aegis. The Locket's already completed for Bengi. They're not worried about any of that AP damage, so Faker can still wreak havoc on these members of KOO. It's not looking good, and we've said Faker, Playmaker really hasn't been here this world. He's just waiting for the final place.
I think he's been having a great final so far. That's what happens here. Gorilla,
he's caught.
The gray health is there, a flash over the wall possibly. Doesn't even get a chance to gray health on that one. A good crit from Bang and the execution from Bengi. And it looks like a little too far into the turret as they're getting flanked by Kuro here. SKT still knows their limits, and they get one kill there and have mid pressure.
The walls are crashing down around KOO towers right now.
Playtime is over.
Yeah, Marin is also unburstable for the most part with the Sterix gauge as well as the tank items. The team is engaging in the right moments. The waves are crashing down on KOO Tigers. They don't even have Ash Hour right now. SKT is in complete control and look to be on their way to their second world champ.
And this is where SKT does their best work. When their opponent's being smothered, they don't know how to assess a fight. They don't know where to go once the fight starts. And SKT continues to pick you off one by one, grabbing a little bit after that. And it looks like they were looking for a few more kills there as they enter the jungle with KOO Tigers. Coming up empty-handed, they're still happy to be in the lead with all the map pressure right now.
And what a mental recovery by SKT. They died 29 times in Game 3 to the KOO Tigers, and 26 minutes into this game, they are yet to suffer a casualty. Undefeated throughout
incredible.
all of Worlds. Play kind of badly in Game 2 early game, come back. Play even worse in Game 3, get beaten. The crowd is completely against them at the end of that game. KOO Tiger chance coming in, and they are playing close to a flawless Game 4.
Very, very clear after the game. Sit down, took extra time before they even returned to the stage.
Yeah, they did.
And just talked over and said, okay guys, we have absolutely no reason to risk this early game. We know what we can do later on in the game. Play it safe. Doing it this game here. Double teleport coming in. And KOO Tigers also surprising us again in the bigger man phase. This time around, I definitely feel like it was for the worse, especially when it came to this Lulu pick in the top lane. The first 3 picks were great. Rek'Sai, Ashe, Tom Kench, it looked really good for KOO Tigers. Then it was a blind pick casted in, and it was
It's just going to mention that. Coming in maybe a little too strong-headed there. Obviously, still could have worked. See the blind pick castings come out very strong, but Faker knows exactly what that matchup is about. Pulling out the Rise one time after the other, continues to play it to great success.
Yeah, and comparing the team compositions between Game 3 and 4 for KOO Tigers, Game 3, everyone was a playmaker. Lee Sin for Hojin. Ashe and Kassadin still the same, but they had split push pressure from Smeb on Fiora and a Thresh for Gorilla. Tom Kench is an annoying support. He's mainly a defensive user.
He's beautiful.
And then he punishes positional errors, but he's not the same type of playmaker that Thresh is. So substantially less playmaking for KOO. And that's one of the great things. They kind of threw caution to the wind.
Oh boy.
But now SKT is playing their defensive controlled game. This is their risk.
Teleport almost up for Smeb on this one. He's clearing the bottom wave. It looks like the team may not even try to take anything. Hojin gets hit out. A very late arrow, though, still allowing SKT to fight. The Gnar misses off of a flash there by Gorilla, but Baron is now up, and the fact that the waves are already crashing towards KOO makes this so much more difficult for them.
Remember, it's a home guard enchant. For Smeb, less cooldown or more cooldown. For Hojin.
Again, where they take different roads to exit. The exhaust is there, but I don't think they're going to have to chase on that, even with Faker's ultimate coming in. It looks like they stay back. KOO now trying to hold off mid. The flash was used by Prey, or I'm sorry, heal was used by Prey. The TP coming in to save the minion as well as engage in a fight. Smeb gets the wild growth on himself. What a static shiv crit. And it looks like that could be a final kill. Nicely done coming in. The Toxin from Bengi picking up a kill onto Prey as he had already used heal. He could not get himself away. And Gorilla also falls after flashing previously.
And SKT is going to take a lot after this one. The wave clear is gone for KOO Tigers. They had to go back to base. They have Baron buff and 5 people alive for SKT.
How hard do they push this in? They don't have many waves pushing the side. It could be towards the top before Prey and Gorilla get up to get that second tier turret. They have a pretty good minion wave halfway there, but I don't know if they'll have time. Maybe they just have too much money to spend at this point. 11.5 thousand gold in the lead right now, and still a flawless game of 8-0 as we just hit 30 minutes.
Yeah, no reason for SKT to risk anything. Just go back, return out here, take another dragon, get 4 for yourself. And really, just the way they've been sitting in this 1-3-1 as Marin is trying to run away, Hojin comes in.
Beautiful hop. The whimsy from Smeb couldn't get him there in time, but it's all about KOO being there. That'll take him a lot more time. This gives SKT time to move out on the map. Marin staying alive for quite a bit. Yes, it's going to go to KOO, and I guess SKT did not get too much out. Thought Marin might make it a little farther, but that was a good pickup.
First small sloppy mistake we've seen in this game from SKT.
Yeah.
Marin shut out. Just being a little bit too greedy or trade, I think, against Smeb.
He's getting Baron off of one member. Very good here for KOO, but still quite a bit of Baron to be used by the rest of the team's Faker to the bot lane, but he's got to be wary now.
Yeah.
He does not have his teleport up, and you can see that's
And I'm looking at this Ashe pick here for Prey. Normally he's a fantastic Ashe player who's able to set up a lot of picks for his team.
That's 4.
Obviously one of the reasons KOO Tigers value it so highly. But what SKT did in this game, that was very smart. First of all, Sivir, who can spell shield the arrow. Ashe, Alistar, who can obviously pop his ulti. We talked about the Elise, who can propel up into the air. There was no easy target for Prey to hit. We mentioned this earlier. There's no easy target for him to hit in the mid lane. That's normally how you stop a 1-3-1 with Ashe. You say to the other team, if you split up in side lane to be hard engaged mid and you die.
They're setting up a play.
This has to work. This has to work.
Faker onto KOO. We've seen this before. He dodges out. The minions in the mid lane gave him a bit of vision here, and it looks like he's going to be able to stay for the full fight. Hojin gets eaten up, and they're trying to get out of this. A cocoon right across the mid lane could keep someone in range, and it's going to hit Gorilla. That's going to be the fly-in from the rest of the team. The Grey Health and Wild Growth is on. Everything once again for KOO being used in defense when they want to try and get in offensively. And this is more push power coming in from SKT. A minion wave already prepped towards the top side. They're going to be able to do a lot of damage here.
KOO literally threw everything they could at Faker there, and they didn't even hit him.
Nope.
With a spell at that fight. This has been strangling from SKT. They're completely starving out KOO Tigers and just putting their stamp on this world champion.
Definitely angering the beast with that loss. SKT coming out much stronger. Maybe this is the Pandora's box. We see a Raptor cloak on Wolf as well. They're going to be going for the turret. That's going to be an inhibitor. 45 seconds under KOO. Gorilla just came up. Does KOO have what it takes to keep their dreams alive for the Summoners Cup? And it looks like SKT may give them some breathing room here as they start to back out. They want this one methodically. They are not making any mistakes. Oh, Wolf goes in. I don't know if the team was fully on board with that one, but he does save off any re-engage as well from KOO.
Same again for SKT. There's no reason to risk anything. We've seen some of the other games. The team got a little bit too greedy, overextended, ended up dying. Not in this one outside that one misplay Marin made. Could have perfect game almost.
And a surplus of items now coming out from the side of SKT. We talked about the spell shield. Bang, if he misses it, he also has the Quicksilver Sash. Now Faker's got his Rabadons on top of everything else.
Yeah.
Deadman's played on the Sterix Rage and a Banshee's Veil in the top lane. So many things to help them mitigate the crowd control in KOO's fight.
It just seemed like KOO invested everything onto the fact that they could always engage with Tahm Kench and Ashe, so they didn't need to bring double teleport. They could start these fights, but then they didn't realize how many members from SKT could avoid getting stunned by that arrow, and suddenly the 1-3-1 was going to be a thing. Double TP. There's just been no answer. In fact, it's so hard to play against, unless you get that massive lead early on, which they did.
Yeah, and I mean, this game, if SKT closes out with this 13,000 gold advantage, is almost classic SKT. It's exactly the way they want to win the game. Nothing incredibly flashy. Faker dominates the opposition. Yep. They still make smart plays after that. They rotate around the map properly, and they just systematically starve out the opponent. KOO Tigers, last stand, 2 inhibitors down. Here SKT comes.
On the hunt, goes in. That's going to be Hojin in a real sticky situation. He goes down a full 3-man Gnar ultimate. That's going to be Smeb down now. Eyes onto the AD carry, but the support hits. It's going to be KOO out safely. Prey, however, has to run away from his base. SK Telecom looking to take down the final Nexus turrets. It does not look good for KOO and his team. KOO Tigers are falling. SKT will be your first ever 2-time world champions! In an almost perfect run, the emotion on the team being felt, you could see it on Faker's face. An almost perfect run here for SKT. Thwarted one game, but come out the victors and get to hoist the Summoners Cup a second time.
Faker, Bengi, and Koma, the repeat champions here. And if Faker's legacy wasn't cemented enough, that last performance on Rise, he made it look easy.
Faker, playmaker. He showed up, especially in the last game. Had a good final overall. Other members from SKT we always have to highlight. Bengi in this game on Elise had a massive impact, but Bang really for me as well as an AD carry. In these fights here, he's never the guy you talk about when you look at SK Telecom. You look at the big names like Faker, Marin in the top lane. Bang is just consistently always there for his team and doing well.
It's gotta feel good for these guys.
An amazing record throughout summer to the end of Worlds. 53-7. SKT puts up an amazing show.
Now they get to hoist that Summoners Cup. Also, KOO Tigers, you saw them still in good spirits. They had such a tremendous year. But ultimately, this is the year of SKT. 2 LCK championships, spring and summer. Perhaps the most dominant split or total year we've ever seen from a Korean team. And it all culminates with that 13-1 slaughter of KOO Tigers in Game 4.
I think one of the biggest things you mentioned before, gentlemen, is the fact that the slump in Game 3 wasn't even seen in Game 4. They knew exactly how to repair any of the errors and bring themselves right back to the top of the game.
That's when you know it's a great team. When you can lose a game in a best out of 5 and then instantly
turn it around.
Fix everything, you're ready for the next game.
I can't believe how much restraint SKT has. Just grab it.
As a team, they will do so. SK Telecom T1, your 2-time